let me set the scene for you. My local gym is a decent place, decent equipment, decent vibe, except for one glaring, neon-lit exception named Zephyr. If you've ever spent time in a gym, you know the type. He's the guy who thinks the squat rack is his own private sanctuary, a holy ground he must defend against the commoners. He doesn't just use the rack, he occupies it like a foreign territory. He'll walk in, dump his water bottle, his towel, his belt, and his gym bag on the floor, effectively creating a no-go zone for everyone else, and then he just wanders off. He'll spend 45 minutes scrolling through TikTok on a bench 5 feet away, waiting for his optimal heart rate to return, or whatever nonsense he tells himself to justify being a complete nuisance. If you dare approach him, he launches into this rehearsed monologue about his advanced programming and how he's currently in the middle of a complex superset. It's exhausting. The guy is a walking, breathing ego with a protein shake habit. Yesterday, the situation reached a breaking point. It was peak hour. The gym was packed, every machine was buzzing, and there was a line for the squat rack. Zephyr waltzed in, did his usual luggage dump, tapped his phone against the NFC reader on the squat rack console, and then immediately walked over to the leg press to chat with his buddy for 45 minutes. He wasn't even lifting. He was just holding the reservation to hold it. He wanted to make sure that if he did decide to do one set of quarter squats, the rack would be there waiting for his royal presence. Now, here's the thing about me, I'm a back-end developer. I live in the weeds of network protocols and API documentation. A few months ago, while I was waiting for a treadmill, I got bored and poked around the gym's mobile app. It's an absolute disaster. It's basically a thin wrapper around a poorly secured REST API. I noticed that the active session status, the thing that tells the gym server that you're currently hogging a piece of equipment, doesn't actually require a secure token handshake to modify. It uses an incredibly basic, unauthenticated endpoint. If you have the session ID, you can toggle your status to complete from any browser. It's the kind of security oversight that makes developers lose sleep, but for my purposes, it was a golden ticket. I watched Zephyr from a cardio bike across the room. He was leaning against the leg press, laughing at something on his phone, completely oblivious. I pulled out my laptop, connected to the gym's public Wi-Fi, and opened my inspector console. It took all of 30 seconds to sniff the network traffic. I filtered by the gym's local IP range and easily identified the session ID tied to the squat rack NFC reader. My heart started thumping. I wasn't going to delete his account or cause any real damage, but I was definitely going to humble him. I crafted a simple manual completion packet, the exact same code the terminal sends when a reservation naturally expires. I sat there for a second, savoring the moment. I hit enter. Instantaneous. The overhead digital display above the squat rack, which had been glowing a smug, satisfied green, suddenly flashed a harsh, unforgiving red. A loud, rhythmic beep echoed across the weight room. The gym's automated system, now convinced his time was up, triggered the internal notification for the floor staff. A gym employee, a guy who had been watching Zephyr's antics all night with a scowl, immediately walked over. He looked at the console, checked his own tablet, and tapped Zephyr on the shoulder. I couldn't hear the whole conversation, but I saw the motions. The staffer pointed to the red screen. Zephyr started gesticulating wildly, probably trying to explain his advanced programming, but the staffer wasn't having it. The employee pointed to the queue list on the wall, which now officially marked the rack as vacant. Zephyr's face went from his usual smug tan to a shade of deep, beet red. He looked around, saw a dozen people waiting, and realized he'd lost his leverage. He muttered something under his breath about the app being total garbage and stomped out of the gym entirely. The look of confusion and defeat on his face was better than any pre-workout I've ever taken. I calmly closed my laptop, walked over to the squat rack, and loaded up my plates. It was the most satisfying set of squats I've ever done. No ego, no territorial disputes, just me, the steel, and the sweet, sweet victory of a well-executed API call. Zephyr hasn't tried to pull his reservation stunt since. It turns out, when your kingdom is built on code, someone else always has the admin password.